Hello, my name is Dr. Pamela Robinson, and I am the founder and co-director of the Emerging Hope Family Strengthening Program. One of the things that our program offers is the annual Mental Health Forum. And this year, we are celebrating our 11th year of the Mental Health Forum. And we are honored to be able to present this to the community. We've had a wonderful day thus far. We've had over 25 different social service agency booths out with information for the community. We've had 3 workshops as well as the keynote address, and we also had several people tell their personal stories about struggling with mental illness. Now, why do we do all of this? We do it because we want to eradicate the stigma of mental illness. We are really wanting to help those that are struggling with mental health challenges to know that you are not alone and that there are people out there that are willing to walk alongside you in the struggle. So thank you so much for listening to us, and if there's anything we can do for the listening audience, we are located at 3901 Emerald Drive here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and our email address is emerginghope@gmail.com. Our website is emerginghope, F as in Frank, S as in Sam, P as in Paul.org. Please feel free to contact my husband, Minister Curtis Robinson, or myself, Dr. Pamela Robinson, if there's anything that we could do for you community members. And even though we are a Christian-based organization, all are welcome. You do not have to be Christian to participate in our services. All are welcome. Thank you.
Yes, and I'm Minister Curtis Robinson. We really, truly enjoyed a day of what we consider to be festive, because there were those here today that shared their personal stories. I was touched by one of the stories where this young guy, this teenager, had shared his story, and he was just tremendously blessed to have overcome the struggles that he had. So that's why we do this mental health forum each year, because we want to bring a voice to those who ordinarily would not have a voice, and for those who are suffering in silence, would not be able to have their challenges met except for these particular programs and agencies that we had here today. It was a great day. It's still a great day. There are 3 workshops that's going on at this time. And perhaps if you couldn't have made it in this particular forum, that we will do another one in the year to come. And we just invite you to bring those. We had an excellent speaker as well to give us the keynote address concerning the political side of mental illness and the monies that's involved in that particular area.
Yes.
And he was really blessed. What do you think,
Yes.
Doctor?
Yes, Mr. Kevin Fisher. He's the executive director of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the Lansing chapter that's throughout the entire state of Michigan. And his presentation was wonderful, wasn't it?
Excellent.
It was just an excellent presentation. And we'd like to also thank Public Media Network for
Yes.
coming out and taking your day to record this meaningful event for us, and we look forward to working with you all in the future.
Thank you so much.
My name is Monica. I'm a registered nurse at Borges Medical Center. I met Dr. Pamela Robinson at an event for the Martin Luther King event at Western Michigan University, and she attended a seminar that I was speaking at that day, and she approached me about the Emerging Hope event that would be taking place today. I know that she approached me, like I say, about the seminar here today, and she was talking about the mental health awareness, and this would be a great opportunity to get out and speak about mental illness amongst adolescents. I wanted to get the information out to the public about mental illness amongst adolescents and how important it is for parents to seek help for their children. It would be a regulation of insurance companies, what's offered via the insurance companies versus the resources that are out there as a whole. And that's kind of dissatisfying that insurance are regulating the cost and effectiveness of treatment. I would like to see that there's more awareness and more information, and the stigma is removed from mental health, and it's looked at as a regular illness such as heart disease, diabetes, kidney disease, and of those things. It just seems as though that with the stigma, a lot of the minorities will feel as though it's not them. They're not suffering from that disease. And I would like for them to seek the help to say, well, let's rule it out, as opposed to saying it doesn't exist. Being able to get the word out about mental illness amongst adolescents is very important, especially with the bullying, the cyberbullying, and just the school shootings and different things like that. For it to get an early start, I feel as though there would be a great deal of difference. I feel as though they rule out that this is not something that someone would want to have. It's not an illness of poor raising or choosing of their own. A lot of society assumes that genetics does not play a role in it. They assume that it's something that someone has done wrong, as opposed to looking at the factors, the external factors, internal factors that affect mental illness as a whole. Sometimes what I notice is not knowing the signs and symptoms of depression, not knowing that it stems from the behavioral changes, the difference in sleep patterns, and not correlating everything with potential depression or mental illness, looking at things as abnormal but overlooking it and not seeking the help, or even asking the question, seeking information, reading about information, obtaining the information to get a proper diagnosis, to seek proper treatment. Mental illness would be an invisible disease, because you don't know what's playing in the mind of a person, and that can play a big role in hidden disease processes, not knowing.
My name's Isaiah Shack. I met Pamela at a resource fair at WMU. We were speaking about how passionate we are about mental health and how we believe that there's a stigma around it that we both kind of want to eliminate. And so she invited me to be here today. Part of what I believe in is sharing my own experience to eliminate the stigma surrounding mental health, and so I'm here to share my story. For my own personal experience, I feel like a lot of the times, I grew up in a single-parent, low-income family, and we weren't really knowledgeable about the resources available in the community. I think a lot of what happens is young people often sometimes feel stigmatized reaching for services, especially in high school. A lot of the times you're seen as like crazy, or you're being sensitive, or you're looking for attention, and most times it's not that. It's just a lot of times youth don't have a voice. A lot of their voices aren't being heard. A lot of what the system is older people telling youth what to do and like where to go, and so youth sometimes feel like they aren't a part of their own growing process.
I'm a personal friend of Curtis. We actually work together in the private sector, and he challenged me to get off of the sidelines and come and be a participant. From what I know, they've been doing it for years. This is the 11th year for the actual mental health forum. Great work they're doing in the community. Something that I would love to be a part of on a consistent basis. It's something that's dear to my heart. Mental illness runs in my family. Has affected me personally. And it's also a situation where I want to, get the community more involved in what's going on and create some more awareness. It's a problem in the African American community, or the Caucasian community, Asian community, doesn't matter to me. Mental illness has no colors. Everybody is affected by it, every race, gender, creed. It's a situation where there needs to be more awareness with it. to make people that are affected by it able to come out and be, just a little bit more comfortable with stating that, hey, I have a mental illness, I would like to get some help with it. Well, things I would like to see change, and like I said, it's just not in the African American community. I think it's in the community as a whole, the awareness, the stigma behind mental illness. I just think that those that are affected by it, personally, are, for lack of a better word, afraid to come out and say, well, hey, I have this challenge and I need help, because of the stigmas behind it, because of the past of, the words that are associated with a mental illness. Just the idea that, there is some help out there is some dialogue out there is some communication pieces that are going on, and the idea that, we can be actually interviewed, and maybe this can be aired to the point where, other people can see this and become a part of it. The stigma, I think, I know from personal experience growing up, someone that had a mental illness was kind of taboo to be around. You didn't want the people didn't want to be around them. They were called crazy or just unkind words, things of that nature. And it causes a person not to come forward and say, hey, I have this problem and I need help. And as the problem continues, now you create a whole community of maybe mental illness or whatever the case may be, where people don't want to talk about it because of the backlash. That could be anything, like I said, it touches everyone. No one's, Teflon from it, so to speak. Mental illness could be caused from, it can be genetic, it can be hereditary or whatever you want to call it. It can be from a personal situation that you may have gone through, a tragic situation. It can be something that's life-changing. Maybe an injury that you had. You were used to being physical every day, and now you can't be physical because of an injury. That can cause, a bipolar disorder or depression or something like that. And I think just the stigma of not being able to talk about it in the public forum is something that really, really needs to change in our society. It's something where, the avenues need to be there on a consistent basis. Like you can go to get treatment for a common cold. You should be able to go into a place where you feel safe to express your concerns, to express how you're feeling, so that you can have a better day tomorrow. And for the most part, I try to teach my kids that, hey, you never know what someone's going through. You never know what someone's been through. So you treat people on the same platform that you would want to be treated
on. The Robinson family and I, over the past 3 years, have united and work centered around mental health. The 10th annual Mental Health Christian Emerging Hope Forum I was a part of. I supported with some drumming and just was there to help over that time period. So in terms of recovery and in terms of working in the community centered around mental health, I think it's valid for me to give back and to receive, especially if there's opportunities and safe spaces to involve myself in. I think when it comes down to mental health work, it's a great deed to do it, and it's like real faith, real church, real community, centered around growth for other people. So I'm about sharing, being the catalyst of art, music, scripture, to embrace situations that's stopping people from living the way that they should. Very much dissatisfied with how stigma plays a part in people who have certain disparities in their life, how they're not motivated to reach out and ask or research based on past experiences that they family had. It's a generational curse that comes from various forms of slavery, I believe, psychological, physical, mental, and spiritual. And so I think in terms of reaching out, setting a tone of what I represent, gaining sense of degree. I gained like degrees. I gained my own business, and still being able to be on the forefront, being like, yes, I deal with ADHD, PT, post-traumatic stress disorder, cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully that allows the youth who see that to be like, it's okay, you know, because the suicide rates are crazy. And when you break it down, African American males ages 18 to 24, they're at the high peak of suicide. So, you know, they're at the high peak of suicide, and they're at the high peak based on population of incarceration. So if I can use my personal narrative to just be there, they don't even have to talk to me. But as an example, as a role model, then I feel I'm doing my part. I would like to see more funding go towards programs that center around mental health. A lot of mental health issues come from the structure, the systematic issues, the systematic boundaries, the redlining, for example, segregation, slavery, all those, you know, different variables play a part in why people in the black community have certain mental health issues. And so we have to first be accountable of our past, of our history in this American society, and be able to put funds towards helping people heal if we want the future, our security, to have a better life. For example, people see me, all right, I got 2 degrees, graduated, got my own business, doing well in school, but they still don't think I got PTSD. Yeah, they still don't think I deal with ADHD. You know, like, so I still have to, it's like a double-edged sword. I have to, you know, not prove, but just being who I am, you know, the stigma comes, oh, you're Calvin, well, you're fine. No, I have issues, you know, here, and I'm working through them. You know, I reach out, I ask, you know, I research, I pray on it, and I act upon my prayer. And so I think that's my own personal story. But in terms of invisible, in the black community, they hide it. They dress it up, they wear fashionable clothes, they buy all the stuff that put on the front. It's a costume. You know, they're playing their role in the circus systematically and what has been implemented for them. It's invisible. It's invisible as in talking, I don't know. It's invisible to the point where people have a hard problem addressing the situation. That to me is like, kind of like, it's stressful. You know, it's stressful. Especially when you're fighting a fight, you know, to help people out, and the dysfunctions kind of like enhances the problems. You know, from my experience working in the community, working in different communities, I see a lack of unity in the black community. I see a lack of accountability. You know, we have so many different faith-based situations and structures in our community, for example, in Kalamazoo, that in the wealth, that it doesn't make sense that people are not coming together supporting, you know, programs and organizations like Emerge Hope. This place should be filled up. It should be filled up.
I am a new board member of Emerging Hope within the past couple months. I was really excited to be a part of this organization because they obviously serve the whole community and in all the different categories, which I love because I belong to many categories myself, and so I jumped at the chance to be a part of their board. I know that they have been around for a long time, 11, 12 years, which is amazing for any nonprofit. I know that they do Christian counseling, which does not only involve people who are Christians, and that's one thing that I really, really like to and really admire, that even though they're set up within a Christian background, that they don't turn away anyone, you know, atheists, other non-Christian denominations. So I really love that. And then of course they have their Camp Day Out, which they had about a month ago, which lets all the kids in the community know about the different summer camps and scholarships for those. So I love it. Well, I am here today serving in a board capacity, and I am one of the trigger people. And so those people are ones who are available to kind of scout out the audience to make sure that if anyone's having any issues, emotional issues, need a hug or just need someone to come sit by them. So that's what I'm here for today, is just, and anything the Robinsons need me to do. Some of the things that I've been dissatisfied with are some of the things that Emerging Hope are eliminating, and which is more information out there in the community so that some of the struggles that people have, especially low-income people, minorities that aren't used to maybe getting help, can feel more comfortable asking for the help. That's definitely a barrier to a lot of people feeling like they not feeling embarrassed to admit that they need help. And so this Emerging Hope, this forum totally alleviates that, lets you know that it's okay. We all have issues. I even just heard Dr. Pamela a minute ago talking about the fact that even with all these degrees, still need help, So me with my doctorate of veterinary medicine, I still need help, And so I've been dissatisfied with the way that the community has really gotten information out there. I think there's been a lack, and so that's what we're doing here with Emerging Hope. I really like the fact that the panelists are all from different denominations. That diversity, that inclusion part of it is so important. So I think it's important to be visible. So, you've got like a Presbyterian minister who's speaking and a Baptist minister, and also people who aren't ministers. And so, again, you're getting the whole community, and that's one of the main things about this event that I love. I think stigma is definitely a thing in the Black community. Definitely, there has always been like this feeling that we're supposed to be so strong. Especially, I know we hear that a lot about Black women, females, and that's true to an extent, but that's been due a lot to necessity to be strong. Being a single parent like I am. Well, I will mention something about being a veteran too. Just the fact that I am a veteran. I work with my fellow vets. I think that they too can have kind of a stigma of getting help, and that has turned around a lot in the past years. And one of the things that I know that I can contribute to Emerging Hope and to forums like this is to bring some of my veteran population in, so that they can have access to this too, because it's really, really diverse and inclusive, and I love that. That's a good question. Invisible disabilities. I actually have one, and my company, which is Steadfast International, it's service disabled, veteran owned business because I am disabled, but you can't tell. I'm walking around, I'm moving around, and it's something that I've noticed that people, they tend to ask, what it is, which isn't always, appropriate. But I think it's important that's why it's important to treat everyone with the same respect, because you never know what they're dealing with. You never know who that person is, and you never know what disability they might have. So that's why, talking about, teasing about disabilities, you just never know who that's going to affect negatively. So, the invisible disabilities, I think it's important to know that they're out there, and that just gives everyone a chance to treat everyone the same. Treat everyone well, treat everyone how you want to be treated, and I think it won't matter whether your disability is invisible or visible.
Well, my name is Latrice Moore.
And I'm her
Mother.
and my name is Deborah Moore.
Dr. Pamela Robinson is my counselor. And she also had these programs that my children were interested in, which was the Camp Day Out program that she had here at this facility. And we came out and won some raffles and got some information on the summertime camps. So that's how I'm kind of affiliated with her, and she does a lot of work in the community with volunteering, and I've volunteered with her before down at the Stockbridge Church when they needed us to paint the gym for Martin Luther King celebration that they were having. So we did that, and we helped make chili, and she's been an inspiration to me, and so I just remember her and her husband have always been encouraging on that part. So
I met her through my daughter. She used to come through sessions with her, and I found that she was very, very warm, and I love her godliness and how she presented herself. And so I just was listening to her questions that she had for my daughter, and it seemed to empower me.
Cool. Why did you choose to come to this event today?
Well, the reason why I chose to come to this event was because Dr. Pamela asked me to speak, and I told her that I was not ashamed to encourage other people with mental health disabilities.
Oh, guess it's not quite done. No, it's done.
And so I was excited to come out and support people with mental health disabilities because I have them also myself, and so do my children. So that was the reason why I wanted to come and speak. I would like to bring up awareness for our community and other Black people or other people who deal with mental health issues. And so that was important to me.
And I think it's important to show awareness with Black people. Sometimes we sort of like cover it up. And I wanted to encourage my daughter and give her support as well.
Are there things you're dissatisfied with in terms of mental health disparities among African Americans or with the general population?
Yes, the stigmas. There's a lot of stigmas and discrimination against people with disabilities and mental illnesses. And I'm just disappointed in the fact that sometimes people, they shun you or they talk bad about you because they're not educated on mental health disorders or illnesses. And we're separated from the community sometimes just because of our flaws and the things that we suffer from. And I really don't like that, but you know, I try to educate whoever I can about mental health disorders and tell them, hey, it's not that bad, and encourage them and just have them keep their head lifted up and pray about things that bother them. And that's pretty much it.
Did you have anything you'd like to add?
Usually people shun you because you have mental illness and like jobs, or people, if you say, oh, I'm this, you know, they don't have the knowledge. And so stigma does play a really important role.
Okay. What kind of things would you like to see change? What kind of things would you like to see happen?
I would like to see more changes in government awareness, and I would like to see advocacy for places, like when you go places, they have people work in the workforce, or, you know, just to become more aware that this is not this is a disease that affects a lot of people, and it's not going away unless we all help each other.
And I just feel that there should be more resources, like counselors, social workers, and case managers that are there and willing just for people with mental health disorders. There are some places that are here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, that support in behavioral health and mental health disorders, but there are just a couple of those. And so if they increase more of the funding and the buildings and things for the resources of that, I think that it would be more beneficial, and that's what I think.
Yes, we need more financial support.
Yes.
Okay. What about this particular event captures your attention?
I like the fact that it was diverse in different ethnicities, you know, and I like that it didn't matter what walk you was. People, they didn't care, and this, when you came, you felt embraced, and that was a good thing for me. Made me feel very comfortable.
Right.
Can you repeat the question?
What about this particular event captures your attention?
Well, it was very inspiring, motivational, positive, informative, and empowering for people with mental health disabilities, and very educational because I believe that a lot of people were able to share their stories and we could identify with them. A lot of people here know someone that it has mental health issues, and I thought that this was an awesome mental health forum for those purposes. And you felt comfortable, you felt welcome, and I just love that. I love the conversations that I've had and shared with other people with mental health issues. And it's just encouraging to know that we all can get through it with our mind, our body, and our spirit. And there's different ways to cope, and there's different ways for people to excel in different areas of their life to be successful, no matter what walk of life you live in or what disability you have.
There are two more questions. The first one, what do you think might be a barrier that would hinder someone from seeking treatment?
The fact that they're probably ashamed of they're probably ashamed of to come out and say, hey, I have mental health problems. I think that would be a barrier.
What about you? Do you see some barriers there that would keep a person from seeking treatment?
There are barriers. I believe that
You're okay. Sorry. Let's start over. Okay, go ahead.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Because I lost my train of thought.
Because when
my son came in.
Yeah, when Nisa starts to edit this, she's not going to be able to take that out.
Right.
Okay. What do you think may be a barrier or might hinder a person from seeking treatment?
It could be the fact that people have children, and when you go to get help, it is scary. It's very a nervous situation. It makes you anxious. It makes your palms sweat. I mean, it's really nerve-wracking. And my experiences with it was, I was scared because a lot of people had experiences, their own type of experience. And I have 3 children. I'm a single mom. My mom supported me when I had to be hospitalized for my mental. I was suicidal. And I didn't want to share that with my children, you know, because I didn't want to seem like I was being selfish. And I was ashamed. I was scared, you know, but I knew that I needed to take action and do something for myself that was going to be helpful for my family and would strengthen me in ways that would help me with growth in knowing more about my situation and how I was going to get through it. Even though I looked at myself downward and people would say that I was crazy or bipolar, I would hate that. You know, I don't want to be stigmatized for what it is that I have. I don't want to be reminded every day that I have a disorder. Like, I just want to live my life like you would and just go through life and just be a person, not be stigmatized just because I have a disorder. So that's kind of it. You know, really about the kid thing, people had told me that, oh, CPS is going to come and take your children away. So that was another thing I was scared about. I didn't want to go and go to the hospital to hospitalize myself for my help and my care, my self-care, because I was scared that CPS was going to come and take my children. You know, even though I had a support system, it was still petrifying to know that I would lose my children because I was trying to seek help for myself.
Actually, that's a pretty reasonable fear.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how that works, but in some cases it seems to go that way.
Mm-hmm.
So the last question is about invisible disabilities. And so I'm going to ask each of you what you believe what you believe are invisible disabilities.
For me, myself, I think some disabilities that are invisible would be the fact that maybe I can't use my arm, I can't use my cane. Sometimes I have problems walking, or sometimes I have problems even telling somebody that I want help, or getting that out mentally. That's an invisible disability for myself.
Well, that's something, you gotta think about. Because we're talking about disabilities, and it can be a range of disabilities that are invisible to people. I just believe that being non-educated about it is the main thing. People have their preconceived notions about what they think bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or depression or anxiety or ADHD or ADD, and these are just the common known ones, what they stem from. They don't know. And I just would say, if people would educate themselves on that, Google something, go on AOL or Yahoo and find out what it is about. Because you can stop it if you take action on different things in the community. Just be more a part of it. Just try to find out what people need to help them get through it. That's all I can say, It is difficult to have a disability and be ignored or be shunned or be talked about, or people ask you, why are you this, or why are you rocking, or why are you walking on the streets aimlessly or standing in the middle of the road for whatever reason. Find out why people do the things that they do and try to help them through it. Be encouraging. And that's what I feel people should do.
I also think that sometimes people think that you can get over a disability that you have. And we as black people, we tend to say, okay, just stop it, or get over it, you're fine, you can get out of that, snap out of that. And it's not as easy as people think. It is a common thing, disability, and if you could get over it, you would.
But if you self-medicate yourself, it will just make you have a downward spiral where you will just not get where you want to be. You will not have the help or be seeking the attention that you need because you're just trying to self-medicate yourself with drugs or substances that will not benefit you in any way. Sometimes they make your disorders even worse. And I feel like that people enable you when you have a disability.
And I also think that you should have a support system. It's very, very important that people recognize that you have to, if your family member have a disability, that they need support. And you have to be a good support system, even if you don't know about it. Like she said, Google or find out, and just be a good support system.
I have known Dr. Robinson for quite some time. It's been well over 20 years. We raised our children together, and so gone through some challenges with developmental disabilities with our children, and also worked together in ministry. And so I've known Pamela, Dr. Robinson, for, like I say, quite some time, and she's always been an advocate for children, an advocate for those who may not have a voice of their own, always taking up the cause wherever she sees injustice. She's a strong advocate for what is right. And so I've known her through the years and just have seen her continue to be consistent in what she speaks and her lifestyle. And so that's how I've come to know them. I chose to come today, number one, because I have been invited by Dr. Robinson, and because I'm also a mental health provider and understand the importance of coming together and getting the word out and being able to support those who may have mental health challenges and are wanting to be empowered. And so coming together with other providers, coming together with other individuals who are working towards recovery. And so that was those were the reasons why I came out today. I feel that there is a lack of resources, and when I say resources, there are resources within the community, but there's not a lot of knowledge of the resources that are available in the community. And then there is stigma around mental health, and so disappointed that there is not more of a push, in government, more of a push in faith and based communities, and just not more of an understanding or a tolerance for individuals with mental health challenges. I would like to see more education, and when I say more education, I'm thinking of getting the word out as it relates to what mental illness is and how to support individuals when they're struggling with mental health challenges. I would like to see mental health be on the same scale as medical health. It's not a problem when someone states that they're diabetic. There's tons and tons of resources and tons of education and tons of support, or if cancer. But if you say that you are schizophrenic, or if you say that you have a borderline personality disorder, then people seem to sway away from you. People seem to look at you as if there's something wrong, when it's no different than if you were a diabetic or if you had cancer. And so wanting to see the scales balanced. This event, there were a number of things that really touched me with this event. Number one, there was a diverse population that was here. So we see that mental health, it affects all cultures, it affects all ages, it crosses gender lines, and so there was a diverse group of people here today. Something else that I really liked about today's event is that not only did we have those who were educating because of their professional background, but we had some personal stories that we were able to hear, and where those struggles are real, and hearing how they are going through the struggle and working through the struggle and finding support where we should be able to find support, and from those mental health professionals. And so seeing those stories, seeing it was very empowering today to just see some of them, to hear some of the personal stories, and to hear from some, even from the main keynote speaker today, hearing his own personal story and the transparency that took place. And so those are the things that really stuck out to me. And then just us coming together as providers, and just the support that was in the room, the various vendors that were here today, just a lot of networking that was able to take place. I think there are a number of things that create a barrier for people looking for help. And number one, it is the stigma that comes with when you feel like there might be mental illness that you have. There's a stigma. So the stigma, and what are people going to think about me if I get help? So there's that barrier. Then you have the barrier where you have individuals who are seeking the help, and they may be a single parent, or they may be someone who does not have an income. And so then there are barriers even once you start seeking help, for those individuals, they aren't able to find childcare to go to counseling services or to go to groups or to be able to get the resources that they need. So you have that the barrier there. And you know, just I think even within some of the agencies, you know, we have the regulations that prevent us bill insurances and the billing process, and so as providers, we can only bill for so long, and so sometimes the individual may start getting help and they're not able to follow through with it because the insurance is only going to pay for so many visits, and so those are some of the barriers that I see. So I think that invisible disabilities are just what it says. It's when someone has a disability or they don't have an ability to do something, but you can't see that. It's not something that is readily seen. And when we speak about mental illness, we know, or mental health challenges, it's easy to mask, because if someone has a strength in one area, they can easily mask that they suffer with depression, or they can work around the anxiety that they may struggle with. Sometimes a person that has schizophrenia, they can go for years unmedicated or untreated, and people will see it as, oh, they're just different. So it's those are invisible disabilities. It's having something that you're struggling with, but no one can see it, or you can easily hide it. And so that's what I consider an invisible disability.
We met at the NAMI walk last year. I'm a mental health advocate, and so it's just a natural fit with what they're doing and what NAMI does. I was invited to be the keynote speaker, but I'm really very impressed with the work that they're doing. So it just was a natural fit again. The first being access to care, the stigma within the African American community, in the faith-based communities, and the lack of resources in underserved communities. My big wish is to eliminate the stigma of mental illness, which I believe is the largest barrier that prevents people from seeking the help that they need. Secondly, I'd like to see more access to behavioral health care in every community, African American included. And thirdly, amongst the people in the African American community, again, I'd like to see us eliminate the stigma and recognize that mental illness is not a weakness. It is a medical diagnosis as any other medical diagnosis, and it should be treated as such. The heart that's in it. The Robinsons are truly committed to this movement, and I've seen the people who are participating at the conference this year. It's really heartfelt, heart-driven work. The first barrier is the stigma, and that applies to us all. The second is the lack of support from either your family, loved ones, caregivers, accepting that you truly do have a mental health challenge and that you need their love and support. And then there are other social and environmental barriers like lack of funding, lack of access to psychiatric hospital beds, lack of understanding about what resources are available to you. Invisible disabilities are like mental illness. In our society, we're used to seeing someone in a wheelchair or crutches, and we quickly recognize that. A mental illness is not a visible disability, but it can be just as debilitating. So mental illness, intellectual and developmental disabilities, those are invisible illnesses.